Did the 1956 Looney Tunes cartoon predict exactly how we rely on AI today? Hello and welcome to another Looney Tunes review video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to follow my journey to review all 1000 classic Looney Tunes shorts and give this video a like as well. So this is a review for To Hare is Human, and with me today is someone who is allegedly a human, is my good friend Eli Copperman. Say hi.
Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Eli Coyote. Eli Coyote.
You sound like you were some kind of snake oil salesman in the Old West or something.
All kidding aside, it's good to be back, Anthony, especially as we're seeing the second pairing of Bugs and Wile E Coyote, especially after Wile E has been paired up with the Roadrunner for so many cartoons and has not said a word. Well, outside of screams and hollers.
Which you can't blame him for. Some of the stuff he goes through, very painful, as we've seen so far. And also, our mutual friend, Luke Perkins, he couldn't join us in this particular recording session, but he has sent his own recording, so I will be streaming his thoughts all throughout because he also likes this short as well. So, hello, Luke.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, Anthony. Hey, Eli. I am glad to be here. Now, I'll admit, in terms of the filmography of Bugs Bunny, I feel like To Hare is Human is a bit of an average one, I feel. Like, it's not terrible, it's not bad, it's not really a masterpiece. I do think it's good, but it is kind of an average one in terms of his filmography. But the thing that actually, kind of makes it at least pretty good for me is actually the stuff involving a super genius Wile E Coyote.
So just a few bits of info to get underway. So as mentioned, this is a review for To Hare is Human, released on the 15th of December 1956, so the last one for 1956. Woohoo! Woo! Woo! It's the 787th in the series, and it's directed by, who else? Chuck Jones.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of him. At the time of this recording, this is on the Looney Tunes Gold Collection Volume 4 DVD set. It has been restored in HD at the time to future-proof, and I'm so glad they did. The high-definition version is not on physical media yet, but it's a prime candidate for an upcoming Collector's Vault Blu-ray set, and I can't wait to have it on there. It looks fine on streaming, but it'll look even better on Blu-ray.
Oh, that'll be a fun day.
Yeah, but you won't see it on YouTube unless Warner Brothers themselves choose to upload it on their own channel, and they might. This one is safe in terms of its content. It's your standard cartoon, but they'll take down my video if I play the whole cartoon. So, in case you haven't seen this one, well, Wile E Coyote does a bit of a change in tactics, really. He ends up, after just getting Bugs in a sack, and Bugs ends up messing with him, he decides to install his very own UNIVAC computer, and decides to follow the UNIVAC instructions, and that leads to the usual calculated disasters, including one very interesting twist ending, which we'll no doubt touch upon later on.
Oh, that'll be a fun time.
100%. So, a few bits of trivia on this one. We'll get the title out of the way. That comes from an essay on criticism from Alexander Pope, and that's just a proverb. To err is human, to forgive divine. So, it's just a little proverb there. But it's just a pun on the name. It's got nothing really to do with the cartoon, so it's just there, but that's what it means in case you were wondering. Now, Eli, you've already mentioned this is the second of 5 Bugs Wile E team-ups.
So there's Operation Rabbit, this one.
Rabbit's Feet and Compressed Hair being the 4 of this team-up. The 5th one is Hairbreadth Hurry, that one that everyone loves. That's the one where Bugs Bunny is the Roadrunner, so.
Oh, yeah, that's everyone's favorite cartoon of all time. But no, of those cartoons, it's interesting that they had Wile E speak whenever they paired him up with Bugs, at least for most of their appearances. It's interesting that they did so because, correct me if I'm wrong, Anthony, while this cartoon was released after the 1953 shutdown ended, this one allegedly started production just before the shutdown, right?
Yeah, so this one, it's not quite the shutdown. The timeline is murky, but this one is widely considered, and this is based purely on time frames, to be the final short animated at the Venice Avenue facility that was called Termite Terrace. So there was one Termite Terrace that was literally just infested with termites. It was like this shack, basically. That was closed in the 1930s. But this particular building was in use up until 1955, where it was sold by Jack Warner, and after this, all the cartoon production ended up being on the main lot, which was in Burbank. So, given the production pipelines, and this was released in December 1956, it is very likely this is the last, if not one of the last ones. I would love to see some paperwork to confirm if indeed this was the case, and if it's not, which one it actually was, because we all know cartoons are different timelines and all that.
Feel free to bombard us with correct information in the comments.
Yeah, and it'll help everyone, pretty much. But like I said, if it's not the last one, it is definitely one of the last ones from that original facility, which the building, I'm not sure if it's still up, obviously repurposed. There are plenty of photos of what that old building looked like online. So, the UNIVAC thing. This is interesting. I touched upon UNIVAC in Rocket Squad because they actually had a UNIVAC thing in there. Just as a bit of a summary for you guys who aren't aware of what the UNIVAC actually was. UNIVAC, it stands for Universal, UNIV, Automatic Computer, UNIVAC. And that was the first general purpose electrical digital computers designed for businesses. These things were massive, okay? They had massive tape decks. The microchip wasn't invented, so you can imagine wires everywhere and so on. And they weren't fast, but still, you had to start somewhere. Basically, your modern calculator had more power than those computers, more or less, right? And it's ironic, because the general public would have seen these things as, wow, this is the future. It's like electronic brains. They can do anything, when obviously they couldn't. Circle back to now, what do we have? We have AI, we have chatbots, we have things. What this cartoon does is now a reality for us, for better or worse. So it's kind of interesting how it comes that way.
Considering that Wile E relies a lot on a machine in this cartoon just to come up with traps to lure bugs and all that, one could argue nowadays that this is a cautionary reminder as to not rely on technology for certain things that they could easily use your brain for. But at the same time, too, I'd argue that, let's be real here for a minute, Wile E is definitely smart, but he's not a genius. He's really not. If he really was a genius, you'd think he would have actually put together his own brain because, okay, there was Operation Rabbit beforehand. At least he was using his brain to come up with various different traps and contraptions to try and catch bugs, even if they fell apart every which way.
I think the funniest thing about this cartoon is that throughout the short, Wile E. Coyote is basically using the 1950s equivalent of artificial intelligence or ChatGPT. He's basically asking this machine on how to catch a rabbit, and it gives him details and ideas and tips that eventually backfire in his face. This further solidifies my theory that the super genius version of Wile E. Coyote would definitely partner with Acme to open up a huge data center and pretty much kill the environment and destroy the water supply. So yeah, he would pretty much be a tech bro, basically.
But anyway, it's just an interesting thing that the UNIVAC that people thought what it could do back then, pretty much we've got the technology now, again, for better or worse. Now, you see on the card, Have Brain Will Travel. Now, some might say, okay, that's clearly based off the Western series, Have Gun Will Travel, starring Richard Boone. No, that show came out a year after this, or at least 6 months, or whatever it was. The phrase had been around for ages. It was essentially folks that needed to be on duty with their guns for whatever duty they needed to do, like marshals and so on. That's the phrase it comes from. So, Have Gun Will Travel. And that's why they use that title for that TV series / radio series too. And also, you don't hear, what's up, Doc, in this one at all. So, do we need it? No, but it's just not there. It's just one of those little observations. Just like in this one, Wile E. Coyote pronounces his surname as Coyote. Coyote.
Wile E. Coyote.
Instead Coyote in the Operation Rabbit. So, again, observation. Big deal? Not really. But, it's just something I noticed.
What's up, Doc?
Allow me to introduce myself. My name is Wile E. Coyote. Genius.
Permit me to introduce myself. My name is Coyote. Wile E. Coyote. Genius.
And watching this short again, it definitely reminds me of the Art Davis short Two Gophers from Texas. So in that one, you've got a dog that's relying on like a book to help him hunt prey, gophers. And in this case, it's Coyote using a computer. So it's similar idea where the characters don't use their own brains to try and get their prey. And, well, they don't quite succeed, do they?
No, they do
No.
not.
There's two musical bits here, so I'm going to put my Manny Cruz the Junior Tenor hat on here. But Bugs, at one point, in a very funny bit of animation, by the way, he sings a line from Sweet Georgia Brown, which is the anthem somewhat becomes for the Harlem Globetrotters. And they would even feature that in Space Jam later on, so funnily enough.
Ooby ooby oobo, zizzle the babble, sweet Georgia Brown.
But yeah, that's Sweet Georgia Brown, just one line, and I just thought it was pretty funny.
You act as if our audience likes Space Jam.
I'm nostalgic for it, but I can recognize that, yeah, it's got its flaws. And the other one that might sound familiar to you, when Bugs is in the garden, snipping up carrots, I guess, he sings Carrots Wait for No One, and that's a parody of Time Waits for No One. That was a massive hit in 1944 by Helen Forrest.
Carrots wait for no one, so I'll pick them now before they are eaten by some slobby cow.
Funny enough, the only other song I can think of Bugs singing while picking carrots was in Hold the Lion Please, where he's singing when the swallows come back to Capistrano. Loved that cartoon. No idea why Bugs is singing that specifically, other than, I guess, catchy song in its own right, but it's a funny little coincidence I spotted.
And also, the other one is Start the Day Right. That's what Bugs sings as well.
Start the day right. Hello, start the day right. Start the day right.
So it's less Mickey Mousing, what Carl Starling used to do when he was scoring, by having musical puns. Here, it's literally songs that Bugs Bunny would sing. So yeah, there's that. Righto. As for seeing this short, honestly, the first time I saw this was on that DVD set. I never saw this growing up. I saw Operation Rabbit a ton, but this one, no. And
Yeah,
I like it.
I think I saw this for the first time on the Golden Collection as well. That's my earliest recollection of it.
But honestly, revisiting this one, it's quite fun. We're going to go through everything that happens in it, because there's a lot of interesting stuff animation-wise as well here. And a lot of this also feels like a parody of a Bugs Bunny short, in a sense. But before we get into the cartoon, I've got to ask you, what's up with the director by credit? What's with that very long Y that's in?
I wish I knew the intent. I was not alive when these cartoons were being made, so
How dare you.
sorry. Hey, maybe Wile E should make a time machine.
You know, in the credits, we've got the usual suspects. More or less, the Chuck Jones team is back. Sans, in this case, Carl Starling, but you got Michael Maltese writing, Ken Harris, Abe Levitot, Richard Thompson, Ben Washam, Maurice Noble's here, Philip DeGuard doing the background. So the A-team is here. Even if this is not an A-list Bugs Bunny short, it's still very good. Like these backgrounds, look at them. There's no sky. It's like white. It's interesting look.
Oh yeah, and this came out like a few years after Operation Rabbit. Those backgrounds, which, correct me if I'm wrong, were the backgrounds of that cartoon done by Robert Gribrick? Or the
layout, Gribrick, background artist, Philip DeGuard. So, of course, same background artist, different layout artist.
Different layout artists, but like even the painting and design of those cartoons look very much like a desert outback settings, whereas this one is a bit more stylized and flat. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, just different stylist intent at this point in time.
And it's interesting to see it's the same background painter, but with the interpreting a different layout artist's style as well. And Phil DeGuard also has done layouts himself on a few shorts too, so it's interesting comparing what the different layout artist does for a background painter to interpret. So it's, as our mutual friend Manny Cruz says, great stuff. So they're revisiting the idea, of course, Coyote being so smug, saying, you know what, you're my prey, so shut up and accept your fate. It's the same opening, except in this case, it's the elevator or lift, as we say in Australia, and instead of a door and being a salesman in Operation Rabbit here, he's actually successful. Like, he just goes in and just has Bugs in a sack.
With Operation Rabbit, he was just more so giving Bugs a warning there, whereas here, he's just straight up ready to hunt down his prey.
Bugs pokes through the bag with his carrot like it's a knife, so it must be one sharp carrot, but anyway.
You call that a knife? This is a knife.
That's right. Yeah, there you go. You're practicing, aren't you? We got the usual thing where Bugs is like, okay, what do you got in the bag? And Wile E. Coyote just goes on this long-winded explanation on how he's a genius. And during this scene, what I noticed is I just love the fact that it's like Michael Maltese is playing with the Bugs Bunny trope at this stage, because Wile E. Coyote is describing what usually happens basically in the Bugs Bunny cartoon.
You asked me just now what I had in the bag, and I was supposed to say a rabbit, to which you would reply, what are you going to do with him? Then I was supposed to say something stupid, which would enable you to get very clever, and so on and so on and on. When by this time, we both know very well that there is nothing left in the bag.
There isn't?
Did you notice that?
I never did, but at the same time, with how much Wile E yammers on here, let's be real here. As I've mentioned before, Wile E, while he may be smart, he's nowhere near as much of a genius as he thinks it is. I'm sure we've come across many people who will boast about their intelligence when in reality they're not much smarter than the average Joe.
A lot of people are like that, but, you know, what can you do, right? But even the music here, which, again, being Milt Franklyn, which is pretty much original cues otherwise, I like the music that plays with the sack. And Cody's going, okay, he's a genius. Bugs, in the meantime, gets out of the bag in some wonderful animation. He even kicks himself in the face briefly. It's subtle moments like that in Chuck Jones' cartoon just gives it an extra bit of life.
Oh, it's hysterical. And by the way, I got to mention this too, because here it says, oh, there's nothing else in the bag. There couldn't possibly be. The fact that we have no idea what's in there, like it just doesn't even bother showing it. It just shows the explosion. Cartoon logic at its finest. I'd argue Bugs is more of a genius than Wile E in that case.
Yeah.
Well,
Ooby ooby oobo, zee the babble, sweet Georgia Brown.
And the thing is, he could have just stopped there, but no, we see that wonderful Sweet Georgia Brown bit of animation into the elevator or lift. Although we do briefly see a stick of dynamite as Cody goes in there. Well, 2 sticks of dynamite goes in and he blows up. He's so stuck up, he just doesn't want to accept the fact that, nope, he lost this time. He's like, poor chap, he's had his chance. Now he must take the consequences.
Wile E is never one to give up.
And in this case, we are now a third of the way in. And again, this is a trait with a lot of Michael Maltese cartoons, usually very long build-ups in the beginning. Then it gets faster and faster as the cartoon progresses. So it's a trait by Michael Maltese.
Well, I don't know if that's entirely by Mike Maltese or Chuck Jones, since the directors were largely responsible for the pacing and timing. But yeah, Mike Maltese at this point was getting more accustomed to building his cartoons up early on and then just making things a lot more briskly paced at this point.
Exactly. So we now get into the main part of the cartoon, which is the UNIVAC. But I like that one shot of Cody bringing in the equipment. It's a very crudely looking shot. It's a distant shot. This could have been done by an up-and-coming uncredited animator for a week just to practice or something, I don't know. But it has that one moment where as he's skipping along, he actually drops one panel. Again, just those little touches. It makes it all human.
Oh, it's hysterical. And then he actually puts together the UNIVAC itself.
So he may not be a super genius, but at least he's some kind of a genius because he puts together a supercomputer. So we'll give that to him at least. Yeah. So we now see
the UNIVAC.
The UNIVAC, yes. It's a beautiful design there. And Cody now looks over and sees that Bugs Bunny somehow has a little safe lock for some reason now.
Hey, he's got to keep himself protected out at night.
Yeah, from all the fans after his autograph, I guess.
And driving out to this random desert, you'll see a rabbit hole that may or may not belong to Bugs Bunny.
Now, this was not meant to be paused. This would have been seen in the cinema. No one would have seen it. This is just to fill in the frame. But thanks to home video, we can now see the other options here. So you got slug, goat, potato bug, owl, llama, rabbit.
I actually had to look up what a hoop snake was. I had no idea what that was.
I like how specific all these animals are. It's just ridiculous. How many variations are there? But we don't dwell on that, do we? No, we just look at it for fun. All these options in tree, in hole, in trap, and so on. That's how these computers operated, really. You just had to give it very specific commands. Unlike AI today that can rationalize to a degree. AI is both smart and stupid at the same time, but it still can rationalize to some degree, whereas these old computers, you would have to put all these switches on, to basically tell it what to do. It was very basic way.
Arguably speaking, the UNIVAC was as big as a computer in the 1950s.
Yeah, it was massive computers. So I don't know how he got all this equipment in because this would have been pretty heavy. But cartoon logic, we just go with it. And we see the first bit of instructions. Entry, I love that it's spelled incorrectly. So entry may be gained by use of burglary methods. Combination safe is so-and-so. Good luck.
By the way, I gotta add, they only appear sporadically, but I love the varying different amounts of overlapping sound effects that Treg Brown used for the UNIVAC, computing together its answers and notes.
Let's see. Rabbit. Hole. Yes. Combination lock. Yes.
By this point in time, Treg Brown was actually being credited on screen, and he did most, if not all, of the sound effects at this point in time, in addition to being the film editor. So I think by this point, Chuck knew how to utilize his talents with various specific gadgets, and the UNIVAC is definitely no exception.
The next gag kills me, and a lot of it is just how committed to the bit Coyote is. It's like, he takes the thing literally. You gotta burgle the place. So he even brings the fold-up window. He has to pretend he's burgling a house. Okay. It looks pretty good, that whole get-up, like a typical burglary thing, just wearing a mask. Of course, we're not going to recognize him with that mask on, clearly. But then we see Bugs just having that beautiful carrot bed. The whole design of his house, how it's just carrots everywhere, is amazing. If you get a chance to freeze frame this, check out all the backgrounds to this cartoon. It's incredible. I also like that sleeping cap he's got, which covers his ears, so nice touch there. He wears reading glasses. He'd be quite old now if we're talking continuity, but the disposal is done pretty quickly. He just throws a banana peel from the break glass in case of Coyote, and the Coyote just slips. There's a Coyote disposal, and see you later. And that one shot of him going into the gorge, fantastic.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. The next day, Bugs is awake, and again, look at this backgrounds here. It's just orange and green.
Oh, it's gorgeous.
And I love that abstract painting he's got as well. And of course, carrots. Sure, why not? It's almost a Picasso-esque type thing. It looks really good. It's a very flat composition there with the table and that. There's no angles. It's great. The more I look at this, this shouldn't really work if you think about it, because it's got just greens and oranges and just Bugs a different color, but somehow it does.
I think it's because they only hold on it long enough that it doesn't register beyond its basic colors, and then when Bugs is moving around, we can still tell that that's him through the negative space.
But we see through the rabbit scope, because of course we have a rabbit scope. I like that one shot that's like a shining light from the scope onto the Coyote. Like, we see what we're meant to see, and the rest is just silhouette and red. It's a great layout.
It's gorgeous. So what does Wile E put in now?
He puts in a few different options this time round, which again, this is how UNIVAC worked. You just got to keep changing the switches over. And it's about breakfast, toaster, carrots. And what does the UNIVAC suggest? It suggests to substitute hand grenades for carrots in toaster, which not a bad option, although why doesn't he just pulls the pin, pulls grenades down and call it a day? He is a super genius after all.
That's probably what he intended to some extent, but at the same time, I don't think he predicted what was going to happen next.
Exactly. But he takes out the carrots, puts in the grenades, and again, I'm looking at the backgrounds where the toaster is. You've got the various kitchen tools, and the pots are even like carrots as well. It's incredible. Those, can't believe I'm gushing over pots here, but here we are. It looks great because it's got the green on top as well, so... But we see that this toaster is actually broken.
Oh, no.
One of these days, I'm gonna have that spring fixed.
One of these days, I'm going to have to get that spring fixed.
100%. And I like how it's plussed. So you got the one grenade blowing up. We see his charred body. He notices that the second one's still in midair and is like, oh no, bang. Fantastic. But we don't even bother with going with any other options. It's what now? He ends up getting a new option here, which is to use a plunger. Sure, that'll work. Not really. Like, he just gets sucked into himself. It's a quick one. It does the job. I like the animation of him in the plunger too. Straight on to the next one, which again, I love seeing these different rooms. The carrot chair he's got. It doesn't look very comfy, but it looks funny. And peaches of carrots. Dude, see a doctor or something. You've got carrots in the brain here.
I love that Wile E just puts together what now. He literally cannot think of anything else on his own. Again, are you really that much of a genius, Wile E? But just putting together what now. Yeah, that ages remarkably well. Yeah, what now, AI, computer, UNIVAC?
He's just getting to the point of absolute frustration, but I'm also looking at Bugs, how he's also wearing a skirt and tying up his ears like it's hair, like a typical 1950s housewife. Just no judgments.
But the main thing I find interesting about this short, and especially when you consider Bugs Bunny's filmography, is what it does with his cross-dressing side of his character. Earlier on in most of the Bugs Bunny cartoons, and even especially still later on, Bugs would always like cross-dress mainly to trick a character, and it is basically a trait that still continues to this day. But with this cartoon, and especially like in the middle of it, he seems to be very comfortable playing a more feminine type of character. You see him wearing an apron as he's making breakfast and skipping and singing along to himself, even before Wile E. Coyote shows up. And when he's cleaning the house, he wears a skirt at one point, which turns into a half apron in a later shot for some reason when he's skipping to put out the trash. And he even tied his little bunny ears into a cute little bow. Now, admittedly, I highly doubt that Chuck was trying to say anything about that at the time. And I assume that he and Michael Maltese probably thought that it was just a cute gag. But it really is an interesting thing to point out if you really think about these cartoons.
And leads to a beautiful standard gag where Bugs sucks up the TNT, so this should in theory work, but no. Bugs empties out the dynamite and that's that.
Which, to be fair, I'm sure Bugs didn't even notice that there was a TNT in the vacuum bag or that Wile E was in the garbage can, but
Oh, I'd say he did.
Still funny.
Given the twist at the end, he probably did, but, you know.
That's true. That's true as well.
So we see that the whole garbage can, trash can, whatever you guys call it, gets twisted up. And the next idea that's given by the UNIVAC is, like, it starts off with, well, dot, which again is AI now, which could have a proper conversation with you. That would have been even funnier because the results that the computer would come out with would have been very strict and logical, so to speak. But yeah, how about laying a booby trap in the carrot patch? Not a bad idea. This is probably the most Roadrunner-esque of all the gags, I'd say.
Oh, absolutely. And seeing Wile E's anticipation, reaction when he successfully lets go of the rope, and then his cutting smile and rubbing his hands together, that's the Wile E we all know and love. That's hilarious.
And I just like the fact that Bugs is wearing gloves over his gloves in the garden patch. Fantastic. Giant hat. Love the look he's got here. And we see here that the device didn't work. And this is probably the most cleverest gag in here. He trips the thing, the rock is about to fall, but he has to ask UNIVAC what to do.
It's like, Wile E, have you really become that desperate at this point? Come on. You brought that final note on yourself, man.
Yeah, and this is almost like people, again, with AI, where they just take everything literally with what it outputs. It's just, yeah, this is foreshadowing, well, unintentional foreshadowing anyway. But yeah, gotta go back and take your medicine, which, yeah, he just stands in the exact spot and gets crushed.
Black insight and its consequences.
Yep, and we end up with the ultimate twist. We see that the intelligence is none other than Bugs Bunny himself, and the real beauty of this machine is that it only has one moving part. Okay, if you really think about it, this spending doesn't make any sense, but damn, it's funny. I don't care.
It's cartoon logic at its finest. And here's the thing, too. I was mentioning this to you earlier, Anthony. Like, this gag feels like it could have belonged in a Tex Avery cartoon. Granted, the payoff would have been slightly different. It probably would have been a lot more, like, brisk and corny. But here, you know, even if it doesn't make sense from a logistical standpoint, it's cartoon logic. It doesn't need to entirely make sense. It's funny. It makes us laugh. Or it makes me laugh anyway.
So I'll just go with it and, yeah, just don't think too hard about this one.
This is probably the second best of the Bugs Bunny and Wile E Coyote pairings behind Operation Rabbit. We do got 3 more to go. Next one will be written by Michael Maltese. The other one isn't. I don't remember who did. And the other one, I don't even remember who wrote Hairbreadth Furry. I think I'm going to give it somewhere between a 7 and an 8. It's somewhere between those. Maybe a 7.5 out of 10.
I'll give it about an 8. I really enjoy this one, and it's not top tier Jones, but damn, it's funny. I really enjoy it, especially the last gag where you go and take your medicine. And yeah, the beginning also is a nice little play on the whole formula by this point. Maltese that played those sort of things up. And yeah, I just liked that smug idiot getting his comeuppance as well. So yeah.
I would give this cartoon like a 7 out of 10. It's a bit more on the average side than other Bugs Bunny cartoons, but it is decently entertaining, mainly due to super genius Wile E. Coyote and some of the stuff I did point out about Bugs Bunny himself in this short. It's a nice little cartoon that is easily watchable, though I'm not clamoring to watch it over and over again. So yeah, that's it for me. Until next time, goodbye.
But what a way to end 1956. Alright, it's not the strongest entry of 56 to end on, but still pretty solid.
And that's all, folks.
Just wait till the next one. Three Little Bops, the first of 1957. Massive video coming your way, guys. I hope you'll enjoy that. And this one too. So, yeah, of course. But that will do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching, guys. And until next time, take care.
Bye.
Of course, the real beauty of this machine is that it has only one moving part.